Ooh. Inside. First of all, I just hope nobody recognises me once I take this mask off, because I can't read and wear the mask. Right, guys, just want to thank you all for being here. Your support, your condolences, everything. It means the world to Jackie and I and our family. I'm going to start off by asking everybody just to turn their cell phones off, please, during this brief time that we have celebrating Allan's life. I'm going to start off with a list of thanks, which I think let's do it first rather than afterwards, because it tends to get forgotten. So I'm going to start off by doing the list of thanks first. Please excuse my shaking. I'm in a bit of a state, as you can well all imagine. And I've got to sort through paperwork, of course. Right, here we go. First of all, sincere funeral services. Thank you very much for your compassion, your kindness in dealing with my boy. It really does make a huge difference in our lives. Shane at Limelight, thank you for your contribution, for the live streaming and everything like that. Really is appreciated. Emma, for putting the video together. Thank you, my sweetheart. Michelle, the booklets. Thank you very much. Really is beautiful. Haven't really looked at it. I've seen the cover, but thank you very much. Gareth and Leanne. Okay, I'm going to start off by thanking Gareth for taking charge where none of us could. Gareth, thank you very much. Your help was extremely necessary for us. Thank you. And to both of you for the refreshments and putting everything together when we couldn't. Thank you very much, guys. Personal note of thanks to Mandy, Douglas, and Sarah for being my personal strength during this time. I know we've been through a lot. I haven't been the easiest person to live with for the last couple of days. I just want to thank you very much for that. Wesley, for standing up, doing the service for us, being a pillar of strength. Thank you very, very much. I'm now going to hand over to Wesley for the service, and I'll be up a little bit later. Thank you, Wesley. You want to wear my mask?
I've got to wear glasses too. Yeah, so here we are. I would also would like to thank and welcome everyone here to celebrating Allan's life. For those who don't know me, I'm Wesley. I had the pleasure and honor of being one of Allan's best friends. I would also personally like to thank everyone involved in their hard work in making this day memorable for us. I would especially like to thank the people helping create a friend to many, a brother to Leanne and Gareth, an uncle to Eva and Matthew, a boyfriend to Emma, and a son to Gary and Jackie. Jackie, Gary, Leanne, you guys helped raise a man, a passionate man, a loyal man. Many people have come and gone out of Allan's life, but we can all agree that Allan learned lessons from the bad influence and embraced the love from the good influences. He most definitely made an impact on every single one of your lives, as you would not be here today. A special mention to Gary, Marshall, Mandy, Cindy, and Stephanie. You guys too played a significant part in Allan's life as well, by loving him and showing him that you were there for him too. Some of these special people would like to come up and say a couple words. And I'd like to invite Emma up, Alan's girlfriend, who you really loved, and then followed by a song that she wants to play for you.
I'm really struggling to understand what I'm actually doing standing here. We were meant to grow old side by side with our turbocharged wheelchairs and our magic wand sticks. To my handsome love, you changed my life in so many ways. Our story started much longer than most of you will know. Your famous words were, "After all these years, I get to call you my own." We drifted in and out of each other's lives, but we always remained each other's constant. You were my biggest fan. From support to guidance to laughter, we always looked after each other. For the ones who knew us then, it was inevitable that our souls and hearts always drew towards each other. We cared and loved, but most importantly, we accepted each other for our own, through our biggest highs and our lowest lows. You drove me insane, but the love we had for each other was something that even when we explained sounded crazy. But it worked for us. We agreed we had something explosively different, but our hearts couldn't be apart. You were the rawest person I knew. What you saw is what you got. He defended his loved ones, and not always in the ways we accepted, but he fought and defended all of us before himself. As hard as we both tried, we finally listened to us and had the final best 2 years from it all. You stood up, you showed up, and you manned up, and for that I will forever be grateful. You and Cades grew an unmatched bond. You loved, you cared, and you grew, and you remained always devoted to us. The way you loved and cared for those around you, your heart was always in the right place. The way you made people feel, you always put them first. Your truth was heard, not always by the right people, but you owned it. You gave me strength you didn't know. Your warmth, your kisses, your touch made all of my worries go away. I'll always be grateful for the man that you became, and you always said, "I'm just doing my best." I know that, and even until my very end, I will let you know that I truly loved you. We became a family of 3 on this great life adventure. I was and will always be grateful for the impact that you made in our lives. My forever last love, always your turtle, always my Batman. # only you will know. I love you, my babe, always. You're one through the good and always through the bad.
Just a second, we're just trying to get the thing to play. There we go. All right. Thanks, Emma. Next, we would like to invite Leanne, Allan's sister.
Sorry, just bear with me. Okay. Hi, as most of you know, I'm Leanne. I was Allan's little big sister. He loved the fact that he suddenly got bigger than me, and it was a big thing in his life. I know Allan would be so happy. He would be so happy to seeing everyone here and knowing that so many people can come together for him. Clearly by the theme, we all know Allan obviously loved Batman. And who doesn't love a good superhero? Someone strong and courageous. Someone who fights for what is right, and someone insisting on a world where good triumphs evil. These are the values Allan lived by. Sorry. As a kid, Allan got a taste of what it was to be a real-life hero. Swimming was a favorite pastime for us as kids, and we were so amazingly blessed to have all of our younger cousins with us all the time. There was one day we were at Joe's house in the pool, and Allan, being the big cousin, had one of our little cousins, Brandon, following him everywhere, doing everything he did. And Allan jumped in the pool, and Brandon jumped in straight after him, but the problem was Brandon forgot he didn't know how to swim. Allan went right to him at only 5 or 6 years old and saw his little sidekick in struggle, and he held Brandon's head above the water and waited for an adult to come to help. On that day, he was hailed a hero, something he relished in, and his little heart was so filled with pride. I think that is where the superhero really formed, and, I think that was where the superhero idea really formed. And of all the superheroes out there, Batman was the most fitting for him. As the older sister, I quite easily fell into the role of protector. I kicked a boy on the bus home one day after school because he was bullying my brother. I rushed into the boys' bathroom at our aftercare when Allan bashed his head open on the trampoline. I felt like such a rebel. I almost hit the boy that bounced him, that caused him to fall. Through our lives, a million moments, I did my best to keep him away from anything that could hurt him. I really think that Allan fought hard, like his superheroes. I'd have protected him if I could have, but no one could have. Without the pain, without the restrictions that this world has in place, I know my brother is okay. He's laughing at us, thinking, geez, what's all this fuss about, Just have a beer, chillax. Allan, with your cheeky grin that we all adored, fly free, rest easy, and relish in how you were loved. Thank you.
Now we're just going to play a song that's for Leanne. Lovely. Next up, very special man to Allan. Someone he looked up to. And he loved you. Gary, Allan's dad.
Start off with a quick note from Douglas and Sarah, if I may. They kept it nice and short and sweet. From Douglas, I'm glad to have met my older brother, even if he came from another mother. He was always able to crack a joke and lighten up the mood, and for that I'm grateful. From Sarah, I'm not quite sure if I'm processed losing you yet. It feels too soon to say goodbye. I hope that wherever you are, you're at peace. Lots of love, your baby sister. Where does one start? How do you encapsulate Allan's entire lifetime into the few minutes that we have? How does any parent or sibling deal with a loss of such magnitude? No parent ever got a manual on how to raise their children, or indeed what to do when your child passes on to the next realm. Allan's life was tumultuous, virtually from conception. We nearly lost him during pregnancy and again at his birth. His strong zest for life brought him through to become the person he was. The person he was a soft-hearted, loving, comedic, idiotic, clever, and again, loving person we all knew him to be. His unwavering patience in dealing with younger people is legendary to all who knew him. He also had an extreme sense of loyalty and was absolutely and fiercely protective over his family and loved ones. He experienced his own disappointments and tragedies, as most of us do. Sadly, through these disappointments and tragedies, his own demon grew and grew, and finally overwhelmed him. No one is to blame. There is no one specific person, event, but rather an accumulation of people, tragedies, and events that allowed his demons to grow and overwhelm him. Admittedly, I had a huge part to play by being an imperfect father. Allan and I grew so much closer, but clearly the damage had already been done. These are my demons to fight. Allan, my message to you, my beautiful, imperfect, screwed up and lovable son, is a quote from Morgan Richard Williford, with a bit of my own improvisation and embellishments. The past is gone. You made those choices and said those words. We said what we said and did what we did. Although I would give anything to press rewind, replay, and fix everything that comes to mind, I cannot. All I can do is apologize and embrace the opportunity to learn and grow from it all. And for this, I thank you. You've gone to your peace, my boy. You will forever be loved and very much missed by everyone you touched in your life. I will carry your love and memories until we're reunited, wherever that may be. I love you. Thank you, Wes.
Next, we would like to invite Dean up on behalf of all Allan's cousins, and he's got a special word for himself as well.
Hello, everybody. The first message is from Nadine. So I just want to say, I have many memories of growing up with Al. We spoke very often every week. However, one of my biggest regrets will always now be not making a priority to see him when I was over. He was busy working, and I was catching up with my dad. But we still spoke every day when I was over. Allan, my cousin, I'll miss our late nights, early morning chats, but I'll also cherish every moment we got to chat. Flaha, my angel cousin, I'll see you soon. The next one is from Brandon, his little sidekick. You are more than a cousin. You were the first one to create unforgettable memories with. Like a big brother, you made my childhood special. My heart aches with the soreness of your absence. One of the memories I cherish the most are those bus rides home with you and Lee, knowing that we would raid the freezer for ice cream and drench it in fudge and chocolate sauce, even if it led to countless belly aches. Our holidays to Kelso and Durban, the countless hours of sports, and the endless teasing of the monkeys are etched in my mind, a reminder of the joy you brought into our lives. Your happiness, enthusiasm, and love for fun were infectious. You were truly in your element when surrounded by others, and the pain of losing you is immeasurable. You brought joy to everyone you met, and your memory will forever warm my heart. Rest in peace, dear Al. Through the pain is deep. I'll always remember you with a smile. Next one is from my brother Trevor. Hey, Kazi, what more can I say than I'm going to miss you? Thank you for all the lovely memories we shared and all the things you taught me growing up. I will always hold our times and memories dear to my heart. From swimming and playing cricket in the garden with me, to learning about Lego, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Batman. I was so glad I got to see you when I last visited SA earlier this year. I'm going to miss you, Kazi.
Thanks, Dean. And lastly but not least, Alan's mom, Jackie.
Thank you very much, everybody who's attending here today. I think Alan would have appreciated it at a fat party. But you know, you get what you get. As was mentioned, Alan's childhood first hero was his teenage Ninja Turtle, which he still has. When he grew out of it, he gave it to Trevor and Dean, and my sister Joanne gave it back to him, which we tried to fix up. And when he took it home, it had his seatbelt over Ninja, bringing him home safely, as well as his Batman here. I might be putting a bit of a damper now on this congregation, but Alan has been speaking to Emma, which I've been screaming at him because he's keeping me up. I haven't slept in 10 days. If lucky, I've been sleeping for 2 hours. Thanks, Al. Even with sleeping tablets, you showed me how it was to be an insomniac. Even though I was, at least I had my sleeping tablets. Alan would not take any tablets. When he used to have a headache, and it really was excruciating, I'd finally convince him to take 2 Panados. But otherwise, Alan sat with all his pain and never complained. During this week, Emma got a message from Alan because some of Alan's stuff is everywhere. Since he was retrenched from KFM just on COVID, he had to move from house to house. So yeah, we need to collate everybody's stuff. But with Emma giving me this file she found with Alan sending her a message, which had his last will and testament in there, and his letter of apology to me, and his letter to his father. His father does know about the letter, but I feel it is not right for his father to see it just yet. Looking at the date when Alan wrote his last will and testament, I triggered something in my brain. I was admitted to rehab in The same month, Allan wrote this will and testament, February 2022. Not realizing, my psychologist had said to me, you need to write a letter to your children while in rehab. I said, what do I say? He said, whatever comes to your mind. I wrote it and never read it again. I put it in a file, and I told my kids, when I pass, as the norm should be, your children bury you. You don't bury a child. But it triggered this letter I had to write while I was in rehab. It's going to bring up, it might insult some people and hurt some people a bit more today. But since February 2022, when Allan wrote his will and I wrote my letter to Allan, it was my apology letter and apologizing for things that happened in his life. I couldn't write anything down, so I decided to read the letter out to my child to read once I left this earth. I've added one adjustment to this, but nothing else has changed. So those I mentioned in congregation here today, a year has gone, a year and a half, and these names, the fences were mended, and a peace was made with each and every one of you that will be mentioned. So Allan never got to read this, so I'm sorry, I might put a bit of a damper here on the congregation today. But I can finally read it to my child. May look a lot, but it's not. My beautiful Desmond, so I took the steps on getting myself back to the mom I used to be. It will be like finding new me that I have never met. I will admit I'm petrified, but as you told me not too long ago, you have to face your dark to see your light. I know your life hasn't been an easy one. When you chose to stay with your father after the divorce, I was so shocked, as you and your father always clashed, and yes, you were always a mommy's boy. But I understood why you were cross with me and decided to go stay with your father, as once again I broke one of the life lessons I installed in you and Leanne, and those were never steal, never lie, accept people as they are, and never judge them, and most of all, face your problems. Never run away from them, but rather face them head on. For years, you held that against me, especially when you were drunk. And I let you because I felt guilty and hated myself for being the cause of breaking one of those lessons and the cause of losing you. Allan, you have also been through tough times, being with your father in Dawn. It was a life where you should never have been where you should never have been exposed to at such a young age. When you turned to hardcore drugs, one Chantal exposed you to, and she blamed you for it all. This is the only person you said you will never forgive or ever speak to again, and hated your father in Dawn for taking her side. But when your father in Dawn kicked you out of the house, it was a prayer answered for me, as you finally came back home to your mommy. This began a new chapter in our lives, living the life as you were brought up in. Together you and I worked at living together again, getting you off drugs, and getting you started in your first permanent job, and your passion for kickboxing, gold in all your fights, and you winning each match you fought. But you were so proud of yourself on becoming a champion in the sport. I hated coming to watch you fight, but that light in your eye after your match made it easier for me. You became peaceful again, and the old Allan I brought up to be returned. You climbed the ladder after that. In your working career, you kept on the health and straight path of life. Proud moment for me again. When I had to move to Bethlehem for my work, you moved in with Kerry. And I knew you both were so excited on going to be becoming parents together. When Kerry had a miscarriage, you lost the plot again and decided you couldn't stay together. Once again, you went and lived with your father, and once again, more unhealthy environment with your father and Chantal, and being exposed to unhealthy things. I moved back to Edenvale from Bethlehem, deciding to resign in 2012 and put you, Leanne, Eva, and Matthew as my main priority, and being closer to you all again. As you know, you all were my will to live. Once again, you and I moved in together under the same roof. Again, we worked at getting you back on the straight and healthy lifestyle. Out of all that happiness to you since 2001, I'm so proud of you. Always had and kept a steady job and always giving it your all and never showing your weak side. I'm sorry it was so hard for you. With me meeting James and letting him move into our house after being single for almost 9 years, after us losing Tim. I know Tim loved you and Leanne so much and accepted you as one of his own. I know the loss we went through with the passing of Timothy. James, your biggest dad figure. I know you loved and had a strong bond. I remember you, Leanne, and Gareth were so shocked. I was even shocked at myself for knowing him for such a short time and telling him to move in with us. But the connection between us was so strong and felt so right. You and James hit it off from word go, and I know you loved him so much. James educated you in so many things, which sometimes, looking at you now and your thoughts of seeing life in another way, James corrupted you so much in his belief structure, which you knew I never agreed with. I know you both used to spend late nights talking while I was upstairs sleeping. I know James was one special man, and even the kiddies loved Big James, as even Matthew used to call him. When James passed in 2016, it was like a part of all of us died, and it broke us, and we were never the same. I know how much you suffered at his loss. I thank you for all the love and support, even though I know you, Leanne, and Gareth were in just as much pain as I was. But your aim, and trying to hide your pain from me to keep me strong. I love you all for that. When you and Kayla separated and you got lost in space between dark and light again, more dark than light, I'm so sorry for the pain you faced. I know you a grown man and used to freak at me and keep on telling me that you're not a baby anymore and stop treating you as such. But to this mommy, you will always be your mommy's boy. I will always worry about you up until the day I take my last breath and leave this place. I'm nearly finished. I pray you will be happy again and not be scared to open up to love and go all the way by getting married and with luck making me another grandchild. The only thing, I added another verse in here because in this time, him and Emma, I finally got to realize we're a couple. I'm adding this, as you have eventually found your true love, that I see you love with all your heart and soul, as you do Caden. I thank Emma for giving you that, and I'm here witnessing true and pure love, and couldn't wait to see you finally walking down to meet Emma and saying I do. You may look like your father, Allan, but you are nothing like him, which I know you hated people that said that to you. It goes to only looks, but you are so much better. Remember, it's not what's outside, it's what you are inside. You are a loving, kind, and you have so much compassion for everyone you meet. You will always be one of a kind, and nobody can be as pure and have a heart and soul as yours. So many people love you for that sometimes inappropriate wit that not all can take the right way. Promise me you will never change who you are. I ask you to please don't see me as weak and not that strong, take no nonsense mom from anyone, especially concerning you and Leanne, that I used to be. I was blessed by being your go-to mom when you needed advice on issues and concerns. You knew that even though I had lost my strong mother in your eyes as late, I was always there, and you should have realized nothing would have been too hard for us to handle together. I'm working hard on building that strong mom again. And remember, I might not get this right, but I will for you and Leanne. If I haven't by the time I leave this place, have faith. I'm trying my best. Never ever forget how proud I am of you and how blessed I am to be called your mother. God gave me one magical blessing when He gave me a son like you. Thank you for choosing to be my child. I'm blessed and love you, my boy child. Love you always, thousands forever, until we're reunited again. I will be the first one on the other side to grab you in my loving arms. The song I want played for Allan. Allan sent this to me via, he always used to send every morning and evening, him and Emma would play a song and listen together and chat. And then every now and then he would send me songs on Facebook Messenger and say, this is for you. Allan sent me this song on Facebook Messenger not too long ago, via Facebook, with his message saying, always is and always will be my song for you. Thousands, Allan. Thank you.
So when I was asked to stand up here and do the sermon today, I jumped at the opportunity, and it goes without saying that I do anything for my friend. I'd just like everyone to know that this is my first time doing this. And not just for anyone. This is for my dear friend. Finding the right words to say was only given to me by the Holy Spirit, and it led me to stand here as Allan's friend, but also more importantly, as a vessel to which God is going to use me today. 20 years ago, I was lining up outside of class, and we're ready to go into the class, and I see this strange boy, new, grade 9. So I built up the courage and went up to him and said, "Hi, what's up? I'm Wes." This boy said, "Hi, I'm Allan Desmond Stolp." All sorts of mischief and rampant rage of awesomeness went on from there. I don't want to go into too much detail, into too many stories. We'll be here forever, the whole day. But a lot of these stories I'll cherish in my heart forever, as long as I live. And if you ever want to hear some of them, invite me to a braai and we can sit down and have a good chat about it. Allan and I were inseparable. I sat back this week, reminisced on the friendship that we had and all the things that we got up to. And I guess that it could only be described as stupidity. My dad always said to me, "There's no pill for stupidity." While I was sitting there, I honestly asked myself, but why? Why would we go ahead and do all those stupid things? But thinking further and deeper into it, it made sense. It was just who we were. We didn't try and impress anyone. We didn't try and get attention from anyone. As you all knew Allan, he had an aspect that he did not care what you thought of him. That was who he is. That was who he was. That's accept it. Leave it. Leave him if you don't like it. There was two things that Allan taught me in life was stop worrying what anyone thought of you. And the second thing was forgiveness. And I'll get to that now. So as best friends, Allan and I had our ups, but only one down. They didn't stay down for long. One night, Allan decided to stay with me for a while, and one night, it was a Friday, we decided, no, we're going to go on an all-night bender. We were going to go from one place to the next. I just acquired a brand new Bantam bucky, which I was pretty proud of. And both of us jumped in the bucky and headed off to the first place. I can't tell you where it was because we've had a couple toots. But it started getting late, and we had some friends meeting us at another place. So we jumped in the Bantam, and off we started going. The karate juice started kicking in. I can't tell you why, and I can't tell you what we were arguing about, but an argument started between me and him. And the further we drove on this road, the more heated it got. Allan was relentless when he comes to his arguments. He knew he stood up for what he stood for, what he meant. So I had enough, pulled over the side of the road, and kicked him out. I said, "Get out." So Allan did. But Allan wasn't done. He proceeded to put his elbow through my window. Glass everywhere. So I got out, but let me just put you in the picture. This is Witkoppen in Fourways. It's one of the busiest roads on a Friday night. So I get out, And we start going at each other and rolling on the floor, punch after punch. And next minute, a white BMW pulls up next to us. We're still going, we don't care. And it was the cops. The cop pulled us apart and immediately asked who the driver was. And I put up my hand. He said, okay, now tell me the story. So I lied. I looked at Allan and I said, he was at a party, he was drunk, and he asked me to pick him up. And I'm just taking him home. And he broke my window. Allan looked at me, nodded his head, and she asked him, is that right? And he said, yeah. Knowing we were both going to get locked up that night. So she looked at Allan and carefully inspected him and said, yeah, you're actually right, he does look drunk. So you two now get in your car and go home. And I don't want to see this happen again. So we got in the car, off in the Bantam, full of glass, started driving with the cops following us. And it was silent in the car, but all you could hear was from both of us. Fat lips, teary-eyed. We watched and turned our backs and we looked at the cop go down another road. And the destination that we're actually on our way to was still coming up. So we pulled in. We went there, we're going to meet some friends, we're going to tell them, okay, let's have a beer, let's calm down, everything's going to be okay. And the bouncer stopped us and didn't want to let us in, obviously because we had shirts torn and blood everywhere. And it's still today, it surprises me why we even decided to go there. And luckily, one of our friends we were going to meet, we were walking out, and she said to us, now come back to my place, we're going to have a cup of coffee, we'll calm down there, and everything will be fine. So we did. Allan jumped in her car, I jumped in my car, and we all went to the house. Got there, I sat on the staircase, I was bitter, angry, sour. Allan sat on the couch, and coffee was brewing. But Allan didn't feel right. Allan was Allan. He didn't like confrontation. As much as you'd think he did, he didn't. He was the man of that moment. And he got up and came to me to say, to apologize. Stubborn me, very angry, still bitter, so turned him away nicely. And all I heard him say was, I'm just trying to say sorry, but he decks me in the chin. At that point, it was done. The next minute, Allan was on the floor, bumped his head, there was blood everywhere, and he was out cold. Not the greatest, I'm not the proudest moment of mine, but they called the ambulance. I rushed up to him, put pressure on the back of his hand, rushed up to him. Ambulance got there eventually. They got him to, he was awake, and they strapped him into the stretcher, and they were taking him out. It was that very crucial and remarkable moment for me that I'll never forget. A hand lifted from the stretcher with his thumb up in the air, and he says, Wes, take a photo. So we rushed to Sunny Hill Hospital. I followed him, and he went in for a few stitches to the back of his head. I made that call. A call to Allan's dad. Uncle Gaz, something's happened. We had a fight. We're at the hospital. Please come here. So as Uncle Gaz walks into the hospital, I burst into tears. I'm sorry. I don't know what I did. I don't know what was stupid. And Gary just went in there, made sure Allan was okay, came out and reassured me, it's okay, you guys are just drunk. Allan walked out with a smile on his face with a massive bandage around his head. You can't forget that bandage. We're both walking out of the hospital, it was daylight, and we're both very hungover. It was morning, and we were hungry. So, we wanted to go home. So we decided to meet my mom at KFC. because she had the house keys. And so we called my mom. She met us there. We got some KFC. But did she go off at us? How could you do this? You're so stupid. No, 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 no. We had massive grins on our face. We went home best friends again. Wes, take a photo. That's forgiveness. That's forgiveness right there. As you know, we are gathered here to comfort one another in our grief, to pay our respects, and to Allan, and a reminder to you all that there is going to be a service like this for every single one of you. And we need to be ready for this. And there's only Scripture that can tell us to be prepared. Ever since I was a small boy, I was taught and knew about Jesus and accepted him in my heart. And growing up, he was just there in the background of my life. And my understanding of God was very little. I wasn't one to show in my actions nor in my words that I lived a godly life. But at some point in my rebellious days, I even turned away from him and thought I'd make up my own idea of who God was to me. Let's just say the older I got, the more apparent he made himself to me, and that I needed him. So a short testimony on my side. I was diagnosed with bipolar in 2008, and in and out of hospitals, medication after medication, I was told I was going to be on it for the rest of my life. But the worst time always occurred in my darkest moments when I hit rock bottom. But thank God, every time I hit that rock, God was my rock. And he stopped me from going further down. Every time I hit a low, something inspiring or something someone says to me, and it led me to God and my faith, and I face up again and kept on going with life again. The strange thing is, the happier I got, the more I turned away from God. I was in a place where I only turned to God when I needed him. But for more things were going bad for me, and I couldn't understand why. So let me explain to you using a story. One day an atheist sat next to a Christian and had a conversation. You could see that the Christian was very ill, sick, and poor. The atheist had a great job, a big house, fancy car, health was fantastic. And he said to the Christian, if your God is so real, why is he allowing you to be so sick and poor? That was a good question. He said, look at me. I have everything that I want. I don't need God. So the Christian sat back in the chair, smiled, and said, you see, Satan will give you everything that you want to make you believe you don't need God in your life. And the enemy attacks God uses so that he can show you who you need to turn to when things are going wrong and who you need to rely on. God called me when I wasn't listening. He allowed certain things to happen and to remind me and to wake me up to come to him. Sounds harsh, but it didn't remove my problem. He simply got me through it. Time and time again, it was demonstrated through the Bible that God used this and demonstrated this. I mean, look at Moses. He had the ocean in front of him, the sea in front of him, and he had the Egyptians behind him. God never removed the sea. He simply made a path through it. The three Hebrew brothers, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were thrown into the fiery furnace. God never spared them the furnace, but he spared them in the furnace. God never spared Daniel the lion's den, but he spared Daniel in the lion's den. He still went. A lot of us are praying today is that, oh God, please spare the lion's den in my life. But God wanted to spare us in those situations and grow our faith and grow our understanding and help us to understand, to be patient and trust Him. I wasn't spared the hospital, but I was spared in the hospital. What's your story? Maybe God didn't spare you from that thing that you were praying away, but He spared you in it, and He still has plans for you. You're not being delivered from, but you're being delivered through. So most of you know Allan deeply, and know Allan didn't make it known that he was a follower of Christ. However, in my talks with Allan, I prayed for him, and he acknowledged my prayers. On a few occasions, he mentioned to Emma that he knew or thought that he was going to go to hell one day, and that he asked her to please pray that he would go to heaven. I told Allan that I'd devote my life to God, and he even mentioned to Emma he wanted me to marry them. A marriage is a covenant and a promise before God to honor and love one another for the rest of their lives. God existed in Allan's heart. He did. So I'll turn to scripture in a short story in Luke 23, verse 32. Says there are two, let me just give you a background. This is about the crucifixion of Jesus Christ and the two thieves that were next to him. So the two others who were criminals were led away to be put to death with him. And when they came to the place that is called the Skull, they crucified him, and the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. And Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." And they cast lots to divide his garments, and the people stood by watching. But the rulers scoffed at him, saying, "He saved others, let him save himself. If he is the Christ, O God, his chosen one." The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offered him sour wine, and saying, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." There was also an inscription over him, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals who were hanged railed next to him, saying, "Are you not the Christ? Save yourself, save us." But the other rebuked him and said, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we indeed justly, for we are receiving due reward of our deeds, but this man has done nothing wrong." And he said to Jesus, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "Truly I say to you, today you will walk with me in paradise." Belief, faith, and grace stipulates in that message. The criminal knew nothing of God, wasn't baptized, didn't declare his life to God his whole life. And on the 59th minute, he simply believed. And Jesus said to him, "Truly I say to you, today you will walk with me in paradise." God knows Allan, and we don't know, nor we will ever know where Allan's heart was in his last breath. I believe. I believe in God's grace. And through His grace, we are saved. Now, hear me when I say this. God's ultimate grace is no justification to go ahead and live a sinful life throughout your whole. And then, in your last moments, ask for forgiveness. Doesn't work like that. You see, the thief on the cross was spared because he knew nothing of God throughout his whole life, and only in that very moment he did. Do you honestly think he would be beside Jesus on the cross that day if he was a follower of Christ and lived a righteous life? No. Who's heard of the story of the priest and the weed-smoking man? One day a man asked the priest, "Do I need to stop smoking weed to become a Christian?" So the priest said, "No." So the man, looking a bit confused, looked at the priest and said, "Well, I don't think you understand. I smoke marijuana. Do I need to stop that to become a Christian?" So the priest sighed and said to him, "Son, I don't think you understand. When you become a Christian, you will not need to desire marijuana anymore. You don't need to take a bath before you go for a shower. Jesus loves you for who you are. And through him, you will be cleaned." Unquestionably, God knows our hurts, our heartaches, and our heartbreaks. He knows about our grief and our sorrow. But like a loving father or mother, he ministers to his children one-on-one. He has a special relationship with you, each and one of you. He is the God of all comfort. And the word all means every kind. God is the source of all true comfort. And it says there in Matthew 5, verse 4, "Blessed to those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." The good news is, God will never abandon us during these times of grief. The Lord will wrap his arms in love and comfort around those who trust him. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds, in Psalm 147:3. So I'm not going to sugarcoat what I'm about to say, and I hope you guys can appreciate me saying this straightforward. And it's how Allan would want it. Go. Trust that God is with you always. When you feel like you are distant from God, it is you that's distanced yourself from him. He's been there next to you or in front of you with his arms open wide, waiting to receive you and for you to open your eyes and look at his works. Find rest in him. And when I say that, nothing around you really matters. The cars you drive, the house you live in, the clothes you're wearing, the things that stay behind, don't go with you. Nothing of Allan's possessions went with him. They're all still here. Finding your joy in life, no matter what no matter what your circumstances are, will lead to ultimate happiness and satisfaction. Jesus is my satisfaction. And my destination to heaven, the key to heaven, is this. The meaningful Bible is basic instructions before leaving earth. The Word will be your key to eternal bliss. But your time on earth is temporary. Heaven is eternal. So all I can say is rest in peace, my pal Al. I love you. I always will. I'd like for everyone to close their eyes and ask for a moment of silence to honor our friend, honor our son, honor our uncle, our lover, and remember him and the time that you've had with him. Father, I pray over every heart here that they receive you today. I pray for rest and peace over this congregation, with the will to find the light in the darkest times. Let your glory be known in the light in their lives. We stand in agreement that peace and forgiveness is demonstrated by the loss of Allan, and his legacy of forgiveness and love will always be honored and shared amongst those who knew him. I pray that your undying love for us fills our entire being and lead us to do right and love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Please, Father, place your healing hand over us today as we walk away from today, not only with a healing in our hearts, but every illness, impairment, depression, and addiction, and we bind that in Jesus' name. I pray this in your mighty name. Amen and amen. So we're going to be playing one more last song to end the service. And if you wish, you can peacefully leave the chapel. I think there's refreshments in the next room. And God be with you. Be blessed. Stay strong.